Hi, welcome to your channel. This is Smart Investment Consultants Limited. My name is John. Today we are going to look at financial management, and I want us to go to a simple but very debatable topic, that is loans versus savings. Which is the best option? Sorry, for your investment. This has been debatable for long, and I also want us to engage in this debate. If you are a returning subscriber, we really appreciate you. If you are new in this channel, remember to subscribe and also share to others. So there has been this debate between savings and investment. Which one should you engage in to enable you to achieve your investment? So today we are going to have a basic discussion about this, and also have or maybe discuss on the best ways to approach this. So I'll also be looking forward to your comments and also your ideas on this at our comment section there. Kindly comment how you feel about it and how you also feel before we start this discussion, and how you feel about it at the end of the discussion. So what I normally say about financial management: nobody is right, nobody is wrong. It all depends, number one, and the most important thing is your income. So your income will determine whether you will save at a certain particular point or you will borrow at that particular point. But it's always good to take at your future goal and be able to learn the times. So basically, a loan is what you borrow, or the money you borrow from someone else to make a current usage and repay that amount in the future. And mostly, it's always have an interest. And savings is what you set aside from the income that you make on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. You put part of that money aside for maybe an emergency or maybe an investment. So before we see which one you'll use, or before you decide I want to settle for an investment or through savings or through investment, always come up with a financial goal. A financial goal is a goal that you want to achieve over a particular period of time. And what we normally say for a financial goal, everyone knows about. We have been saying about how to set a SMART goal. So number one, it must be specific. Maybe I want to own a plot. That one is specific. I want a plot. I want to start a business in this and that. It's very specific. What I will be focusing more on is M. Is it measurable? When you talk about I want to own this, have you sat down? Have you come up with a budget? And no, I need this particular amount of money. Maybe I need 500,000, for instance. That one is very important and will inform whether you, with your current income, will you be in a position to save 500,000 or do you need to borrow? Then, is it achievable? Don't just, and also is it realistic? Don't just set a dream just for the sake. Then, another thing I'll be focusing more on is time bound. How long will it take? How long do I need to get this goal? I want to own a plot in the next 5 years, for example. So when I do savings, when I look at what I can save for 5 years, will it give me from the measurable? Will it give me the amount that I need to be able to achieve that the measurable part, the achievable part? Then it's also that time. What will I forego? Will this goal be at the same level at that particular time? For example, you may check your area. An example I've given: if I look at a goal, I want to own a plot in the next 5 years. Then I look at the cost. Currently, a plot is 500,000. So when I say about 5 years, in the next 5 years, will this plot be still at 500,000? Time bound is also very, very important in this. So when I look at measurable and time-bound, I'll say this. It will be prudent to borrow if the amount involved is huge rather than savings. For example, you take an instance, um, you are earning 100,000, and maybe when you look at your expenses and everything, the amount you wish to save every month could be 10,000. So you need 500,000 to purchase a plot. Then I will take 500,000, divide by 10,000 that I can be able to afford, and see it will take me 50 months to be able to get to this goal. 50 months, that is about 4 years to be able to achieve this goal. So is it prudent for me to um, save for 4 years for me to be able to buy a plot, for example? Rather, the advice would be, why don't I go to a bank, take the 500,000, or to my own circle, take the 500,000, and then provide a repayment period for 4 years. Which one would be easier between these two? The explanation here is this is because savings require a lot of discipline, which can be better be achieved through downward savings. For example, in this instance, if I decide to save that is 10,000 every month, maybe I might get drained in the third year and realize, because in the third year maybe I have saved around 300,000, it's better now, instead of buying the what I had proposed, instead of buying the plot, I can use this money to do something else. So the discipline about savings is very, very key. But once I took a loan and decided to buy that plot using that loan, I don't have choice. The loan must be deducted. So it's very, very important to think about when it is long term, when I'm involving a lot of money, let me go for a loan. It will not drain me as rather as doing my own savings. Then saving for a long time might be very weary and lead to shift of goals. Like I've said, you become tired maybe in the second or the third year, and you decide, let me try something else. By the end of the day, you lose the goals that you wanted to make. So it can also lead to shifting of goal, especially in the long term due to the ongoing inflation. The question is, I want to own a plot of 500,000, and when I look at my savings, it will take me the next 5 years to be able to achieve this. Look at that place 5 years ago. The cost of that plot there could have been around 250,000, maybe the cost of the plot you are talking about. Now, inflation is double. And if we look at the current economic crisis, inflation don't look to be ending. So if I still want to save for 500, I might decide to save for these 5 years, and then after 5 years, the plot that I was targeting to buy at 500,000 has just moved to 1 million because the inflation is doubling. So by the end of the day, I have not been able to achieve the goal that I had set. But if currently I took that loan of 500,000, no matter it should give me interest, I buy that plot, then the bank or the financial institution will require me to pay through the terms and conditions that we have agreed to pay pay the amount we agreed. They will not hide the amount because the inflation hiked. So for that long-term goal, then it would be advisable that I achieved it through a loan. Then for short-term goals, and thus that require less cost, just save. If I have a goal for the next 6 months, it's very likely the next 2 months there will be no inflation. So for such a goal, instead of going and borrowing, and in loan we have what we call a risk, it's better if I save my own amount and achieve that goal. So in conclusion here, I would say borrow for long-term projects that involves more cost. And for short-term projects that require less cost, it will be very prudent for you to do savings. So we can look at the cost and advantages of loan and savings, starting with a loan. The loan has a cost. And the cost of a loan is number one, anytime you're applying a loan, there is an application fee, there is an insurance fee, and there is an interest and also a risk. So it's good to know if I want to achieve my loan through 500,000, I need a loan of 500,000. How much money will be deducted before I'm given that loan? That is the application fee and insurance. Then, how much money will I pay above this 500,000? So, my due, maybe you do that months and it become to 100,000. That is the cost of that loan. The cost of that loan is 100,000. Then, at the same time, I go sit down and try to look at the cost of savings. And we are saying here, the cost of saving is inflation. Like I have said, inflation has been persistent over the time. So if in 5 years' time, the inflation maybe is doubling from what we had 5 years' time, it's also likely in the next 5 years' time, the inflation will double. So then I sit down and I say, if I decide to save 500,000 for the next 5 years, then I will require to save 1 million and not 500,000. So the cost there is 500,000. So again, now you take the cost of application fee, insurance, interest, and risk, you compare with the cost of inflation. If the cost of application fee plus interest will be higher, it means that the cost of loan is higher than the cost of inflation. Then it means for this project, let me use my own savings. And this will mostly happen when the project is short term and you are taking less period. Most of the times for long term projects or investment, you'll find that the cost of loan, that is the interest plus insurance, is way lower than the cost of inflation. For this, it will be advisable for you to go for a loan at that particular time. The advantage of a loan is that you can invest and pay the amount from the proceeds of the investment. Remember, when we are talking about loans and savings, at this instance, we are talking it for investment. Investment is something that I want to do, and that will bring me money right away. So if I want to, for example, borrow and purchase a plot like I had said, this plot over the period for the next 5 years will appreciate. And from that appreciation, it means I am gaining from the appreciation of the plot. If I am maybe borrowing to build some rental houses, these rental houses will give me an income, and this income can be used to repay back the loan. So when you look at that, for a project or an investment, then it will be prudent for you to borrow rather than on the other side, there is something for savings, we call it the foregone. The foregone is if I want to save for the next 5 years, it means this money will be idle for the next 5 years. They are bringing me no income. And thus, there is no gain I'll get from that money. So it's also good when that's when I was saying when it is the long term, let me borrow. Okay, loan can be very helpful when your financial goal is long term and also when the project requires a huge amount. I don't think I need to emphasize on that. But you have a caution here. Yes, you are saying a loan is good even to invest in a project that is long term. But we have to put the project or the investment that we are doing into two. There is what we call a high risk project, and also you have the low risk investment. For a high risk project, it means I said one of the cost of a loan is a risk. Because I'm taking this money, it's not my money, I'm going to invest in something I'm uncertain of. So for high risk, for example, is when you are taking a loan to start a business. You have never been into this business. You don't know especially when I talk about business, I talk about especially these business that have daily turnovers. You want to open a shop, you want to open a wines and spirit, you want to open a wholesale, you want to engage in transport industries, all those. These are high risk projects. So it will not be advisable for you to take a loan to go start those high risk projects, especially when you have no experience in them. It will always be advisable for you to take a loan and maybe expand what you have already started, but not starting anew. And we are saying more so when you don't have an alternative source of income. Remember, a loan must be paid back. And if a loan must be paid back, and I'm taking this money, engaging in a high risk business, which I have no clue about, and I'm expecting that business to pay the loan, what happens when the business cannot be able to pay the loan? That's where now you get a bad loan. For another, someone who might borrow and engage in this is someone who have an alternative source of income. For example, I'm in the transport industry. The transport industry is giving me money. I want maybe to start a wholesale industry. I want to start farming. And I'm sure even if this farming I'm going to start fails, the transport or the proceeds from transport can be able to cater for the loan. Because most of the times when we lie to ourselves that the amount I have borrowed is what will pay the loan, especially in a new venture. I am a teacher. I have a source of income. I want to venture into business. That one could be alright because this loan maybe will be repaid from your payslip and so on and so forth. Then when you move to the saving sides, I had already said that the cost of saving is inflation, and this can make you forego the goal as it might keep on shifting, especially in the long term. I think I don't need to dwell much on that. I've said in the long term, maybe I want to buy a plot. The moment I save the amount to buy that plot has already appreciated, and that becomes a disadvantage to me. Another thing is that savings might also be faced by misuse, since the money might be at your disposal. When I decide to do savings, where I keep this money is very important. If this money is at my disposal, anytime I have a need, a pressing need. Remember, we say that needs or expenses, you might not be able to fulfill all of them. And they keep coming, they keep sprouting. So anytime I have this need, and I have amount of money I have saved, and this amount is at my disposal, I will be attempted to withdraw the amount and use them there. And that leads to misuse, and you might not, by the end of the day, end up achieving the goal that you had depicted. Savings is your money, so there is minimal risk involved and less costly, and that's the most important thing about savings. It's my money, so if I venture into something and it goes into loss, I will not have a problem with a third party. Then savings is best for short term, also best where cost is low. We have talked about that. Then savings is the best when you want to venture in a risky business, especially if you don't have an alternative source of income. So it will be very bad for you to do a startup using a loan, because when it fails, then you undergo the loss of the capital, and also you have a loss in paying back a loan. So it's like you have a double loss. But when you start with your money, you get experiences that in that business. Sorry, I've already gotten experience in this business. Now I can go and borrow maybe to expand the business, and that will be one of the best desirable things. So when you want to engage in high risk business, it's a startup, kindly use your own savings. Let's look at best practices for loan. Number one, before you borrow, have a budget. Then borrow only what you need. This is very, very important. I was talking to a group of farmers and we were developing a budget. And we realized most of them where they got on is because they don't have a budget, especially when they are approaching financial institutions borrow. A farmer should sit down and know what is the cost of leasing my shamba, what is the cost of workforce that I will employ there, what will be the cost of fertilizer, what will be the cost of the seeds, what will be the cost of fungicides and all that, and then what will be the cost of harvesting. With that, when you sit down and do all those costs and you realize I need 100,000, then you might have saved yours 20,000. Then you only need to borrow 80,000. When you do that budget for your business and say this is what I need and this and this and this, you'll be able to sit down and say the reason why I want this amount of money is because I want to put this money into this and this and this. But when you go and borrow blindly, you end up into two situations. Number one is what we call overfinancing. You go and say, I think I need 200,000. Your credit history is good. Your transactions are good. You get the 200,000. Once you start doing the purchases, you only realize that your business only required 100,000. So where do you take the other 100,000? And remember, it's money that has come with a cost. Most of the times, as I had said, expenses will always be there. So you will utilize this money in expenses. Remember, you are supposed to borrow, invest so that this money repays itself and leaves you with some profit. So you have given your business 100,000, or the kind of venture you are engaging in, or the kind of investment 100,000. You have spent 100,000, but by the end of the day, you want to force your business to repay 200,000, and you only injected 100,000. Don't you see there will be a problem there? So you end up having a bad loan and saying that the business you're engaging in or the venture you're engaging in doesn't give you any profit, whereas you are the one who is the business. The second thing could lead to underfinancing. I've not done a budget. I wanted my business needs 150,000. I have only borrowed 100,000. So once you realize you have been underfinanced, because you cannot go back to the financial institutions for underfinancing, you have two options. Number one, you run to the people we call Shylocks. These are the people who will lend you maybe 1,000 and they expect you to bring with half the profit. So you repay back maybe with a month's time is 1,500. So again, you'll be straining your business. Number two, you might realize you don't want to go to Shylocks because they are costly. Then you cut down on costs in your business. Remember, every coin should count, and there is a term used in computer that was called GIGO, G-I-G-O, that garbage in, garbage out. You have started cutting down fundamental cost in your business. So when you cut them down, also the output of the business will be low. And again, you have a problem being able to repay that particular amount of loan. Number two, understand the terms and conditions which you are given the loan. Some are happy because at some institutions that they are looking at the period within which will be given the loan, they are looking at the requirements, but the most important thing is the interest rate, the mode of interest rate. How much am I going to repay this money with? If I repay with that interest, will I still have a profit and be able to repay this loan? Or will it drain down the business and maybe eventually end up even being auctioned, or the business ends up dying? I would give an example of this. Let nobody tell you are giving you a loan at 10%, another one at 13%, another one at 18%. Maybe the question would be, how much will I be paying? Then sit down, look at the repayment amount, look at the period you are going to pay back the loan with, then do your calculations and know, in institution A, I will pay back with this interest. In B, I'll pay back with this interest. Then you can be able to know about which one is cheaper. Because, for example, if institution A approaches you and tells you, we are going to give you a loan at 13% rate, which is for them is reducing, and another one approaches you and tells you we are going to give you a 10% rate. Now, if institution A at 13% is reducing and B at 10% flat rate, then you'll end up paying higher interest at 10%, which is flat, than 13%, which was reducing. So instead of these two confusing terms, you just get to know how much will I be repaying every month. Then sit down, what period am I taking, do your calculations. Number 3, always have the end in mind. Have a clear repayment plan. When I take 100,000, I put it in this. This is the amount of profit I expect. With this profit, I can be able to repay this loan and remain with this specific amount. That is a clear repayment plan. Whatever I'm going to engage in, will be able to repay this plan. If I'm doing a project that is not bringing income immediately, I'm going to repay this from here, from another business, from another salary, and that is a clear repayment plan, and that avoids conflict with your financial institution. Then always pay on time to avoid penalties and have a good credit history. I don't need to emphasize on that. When the venture is doing well, you can over repay your loan. Assume in a month, especially for us who have borrowed from people who are giving us on a reducing interest. In a month, if I make more sales or more profits, it will only be prudent. I go back and repay. Maybe if we had agreed I pay 5,000 every month, and this month I have done well, there is no harm even paying 10,000, because as we'll understand in our next topic, we have something called a seasonality calendar. A seasonality calendar assists you to understand your business. There is a time your business will be booming, and there is another time that your business will be on its knees or on its low moments. So when the business is booming, pay more amounts so that it can also cater for when the business is low, you don't strain and repay back the loan. Repayment also can help you in a moment that when you finish this loan before time, then if the loan was on a reducing balance, you'll be able to forego some interest. So my loan was on a reducing balance. I had taken a loan for 1 year. I have repaid it within 6 months. Then it means I have foregone the interest for the next 6 months. We have an NB here. Never borrow for consumptions or liabilities. It's unfortunately we also borrow for consumption liabilities as much as we can avoid if you want to venture or to be good financial managers. Just avoid it, because it will harm more than it will bring. Consumptions and liabilities don't repay back the loan because they generate no income. For this case, for the two is to say, live within your means. It's prudent to save for them. It's prudent to only live with the income you are able to afford if it is for them too. Then you have the best practices for savings. Before you get your income, come up with a budget. A budget that will tell you this is what the family will use this, the household will use this is the amount I will use for entertainment, this is the amount I will reinvest back into the business. Come with such a budget. Then from that budget, of course, there will be needs. Needs is what you can't live without, and there will be wants. So it's good to cut down on unnecessary want and do savings from them. So from that point, we can look at point number 2. Just save something, no matter how small it is. For example, a particular part maybe of an unnecessary want can be that you have been spending so much money on airtime. So I had a particular example of this guy who was spending 100 bob every day on airtime and decided to cut this cost down by 50% and do savings. So the 50% of 100 will be 50. Then if I save this one for 30 days and 365 days, that is in a year, from that credit alone, I can be able to save 18,000. This 18,000, I'm assuming is someone who now maybe is a farmer, can decide that 18,000 can assist or can help him to acquire a young heifer. You see, and this was a literal amount that was assumed, literal 50, and that was being used on credit. So having a budget, knowing your needs and wants is very, very important. Then the last point will be save far away from you to avoid misuse. So fixed and goal savings account will assist. As I had said, if you save this money near you, expenses will always keep sprouting and you'll end up spending a lot of money on them. You'll not avoid them because you have the money. So it's always good to save far away from you, and with us you can seek from financial institutions. They have fixed accounts, they have goal savings account, and these will assist you so much to do your savings. Lastly, if you are the kind of person who is risk averse, don't want to do more loan, and still you want to engage in this, you can do what you call horizontal savings. In horizontal savings, you take your money goal or your financial goal, divide it into two. Like my 500,000, I decide to borrow 250,000 and save 250,000, and it assists me a lot to achieve my financial goal. So I hope with these tips we will be more prudent, or they will assist us so much as we approach the two on how we are going to achieve our financial goals. Still looking forward to your comments on this comment section. Let's grow each other in this side of financial management. As I said, there is no expert in this. It's our ideas, when put together, will enable us to grow and become better financial managers. So hope you still hit on the subscription button. We grow together as a family. In case you have a group, you want to grow much in financial management as an individual, as a group, your workers, you can always reach us for a training at a very affordable cost at a number shared down there. So thank you, and make smart investment your home of growing.